So, here is match number 3 of the day. Firestorrm versus Helzinka versus Nayko versus tewbs. Firestorrm, I believe, was seed number 3 in the qualifications. Helzinka was like number 7. Nayko may have been number 10, or the other way around. And then I believe tewbs was number 14. So we're going to be starting off on Thief by Disrod and Hunter. So the top 2 players are going to be going through out of these 4. And here we go. Going into the first, let's watch tewbs, Canadian. Very aggressive opening line, but actually gets a lot of speed out of it. Very nice. Doesn't keep the gear though out of it. Firestorrm does. Firestorm's gonna be going into first place. Let's go back to Helzinka. Ooh, makes a touch, as well as Nayko. So tewbs versus Firestorrm. Firestorrm making a touch actually. So now tewbs is in first place with a 0.5 of a lead in front of Helzinka and Firestorrm. So Firestorrm here, actually a little bit behind tewbs, making a touch. Everyone making small mistakes, it seems, on this map. But not too bad. Oh, tewbs making another mistake. Now Helzinka slightly leading. Firestorrm making another mistake. Let's watch Helzinka. The first round on a match is always so funny. There's always mistakes to be made. Helzinka gets it and comes in first place. 10 points for Helzinka, 6 for Firestorrm, 4 for tewbs, and 3 for Nayko. So now moving on to the second round, we have Nayko taking the most inside approach in this turn as well. Drops the gear. I don't think anyone kept the gear after that uphill. So about the same exit speed. Nayko going for a very wide line. Oh, but making a mistake. And it seems like tewbs is also well behind the pack. So let's look at Firestorrm versus Helzinka. Helzinka going for a more like inside line there, or whatever you want to call it. He just goes on top of the sausage instead of using it for a jump. So very interesting. Loses some speed doing that. Firestorrm going ahead, but Helzinka with way more exit speed, allowing you to catch up just a little bit. Loses the gear. Firestorrm may have kept it. Looks like he did because he has a lot more speed. 0.18 ahead. 0.27 ahead. Firestorrm with a more inside line, and Firestorrm risking it gets first place with a 101.32. tewbs going for that safe finish. Knows that he can get it. Oh, but lost the third to Nayko, so that's going to be 1 point deficit for him. So now we have 2 tied players, 16-16 for Firestorrm and Helzinka, 7-7 for tewbs and Nayko. It's always important to keep your head in the game after a mistake like that. And Firestorrm making an early mistake or something because he is very far behind. I don't know what happened. Anyway, going up, looking at Helzinka, Nayko, and tewbs, all with an opportunity to get first place here. Very close, only 0.4 between them. Tewbs for a more inside line. Looks like both Helzinka and Nayko made a touch. Helzinka still makes that jump, so he is still in it. Firestorrm coming up all the way from last to second because all of these players making some mistakes. Firestorrm, doing a great job to really risk it, but he goes over the edge, and Firestorrm is going to go back down to last. So all these players just passing mistakes back and forth to each other, saying, you know what, here, you have it. No, you can take first. No, 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 I insist. You must get first. So Helzinka here. Let's see, is he generous? Will he give it to Nayko? He will not. He will come in first with a 102.27. Nayko right in second. Firestorrm getting third, and it looks like tewbs made a mistake because he has to go for the safe finish. So that's going to spread them back out again. Nobody tied. We have Helzinka in first, then Firestorrm, Nayko, and tewbs. All really close though. Only 16-point difference. Not too bad. So now Firestorm, definitely with the fastest start here. Nayko going a little wide, has to adjust. But, yeah, that's not going to be great for him. Had to really go inside and, ooh, misses the checkpoint too. So he is out of it. Firestorm in first. tewbs and Helzinka trailing him. Firestorm with a pretty good lead here of 0.3, and seeing his pace in this section that's about to come up compared to these other players, I would say that as long as he doesn't touch, he is very set to getting first in this round, which would be very good for him. Firestorm going for some nice wide lines. Helzinka, though, catching up just a bit. 0.4 behind, 0.46. Not much you can do at this point other than hope that your opponent makes a touch on the outside, and it looks like Firestorm will be... No, he makes a mistake! And Helzinka comes in first place in that round. Wow. Firestorm just risking a little bit too much and hits the wall in the end. So Helzinka gets even more points. So tewbs and Nayko are now tied for that last place. Firestorm only 8 points ahead of them, and Firestorm really not liking this start. Firestorm is kind of throwing away a lot of what I thought he would have an advantage on. Maybe not as prepared for the match as I thought. Or simply, I mean, his times have been shown to be fast, but I think he's just choking right now. That being said, he's still in second, so he would still be qualified if he came in second overall. It just would put him at a worse seed. Anyway, Helzinka here, 0.3 ahead of Nayko. This would be really good for Nayko if he's able to make this up. Helzinka in first could go and take it all the way. Nayko, 0.35, 0.37. Now he's just going to have to hope. Is Helzinka going to make a mistake? Helzinka go for a very wide line. He's going to have a lot of speed going out of it, but Nayko makes a mistake. Helzinka with a 101.45. Nayko does get second. Firestorm almost being able to catch up, and tewbs very close behind. So Firestorm only getting 4 points. This is not looking good for him because other players are going to be able to catch up to him if this keeps going. But lucky for him, he did make a map that was accepted for this competition, so that's the one we're going to be going on to now. This is Venom by Firestorm. So he definitely knows this map very well. Doesn't mean that he has an advantage necessarily, because, you know, other players were given a full week to train all these maps, so does he really have an advantage? Maybe, but all these players, you know, they could have seen what lines he had in mind and, you know, improved on them. So besides just the learning phase, I don't think he would have an unfair advantage here. So we will see, though. It depends on how well these other players are trained on these maps. So Helzinka, tewbs. tewbs being at 19 points, but honestly only 9 points behind Firestorm. That's easy to make up, so anyone is in this. Helzinka looking at a very nice lead, though, so if he can keep this up, he's looking to get a healthy first place that can guarantee him a spot in the semifinals. Ooh. Firestorm barely making his own finish. We had to request Firestorm to change the finish because originally it was much too hard for players. Anyway, going on into the first round. Firestorm, Helzinka, Nayko, and tewbs. Let's take a look at Nayko here. Nayko going for a more outside line. tewbs getting a little bit of a bump there or something. Nayko having a good gear there. Helzinka going for the inside line. And that will work, but it doesn't pay off unless you get that gear in the downhill. It seems like he had lost it. So Firestorm now in a nice easy first, but he touches and Firestorm is going down. He's only 0.16 behind, though. He can make this up, but the gears that he's in due to that mistake, making one mistake can completely ruin a run just because your gears are no longer where you expect them to be. So now tewbs versus Firestorm. Can tewbs pull out a second here? Ooh, Firestorm going for an attack on Helzinka, but Helzinka holds on to it with .053, just barely ahead of Firestorm. Good race among all these players. So now, let's take a look. Nayko, 25 points, Firestorm at 34. Helzinka is a full 22 points ahead of Firestorm. Not a guarantee that he's going to win this, but it's definitely going to help him. tewbs getting a bit of a slowdown. Helzinka going for that inside line. Let's take a look. He is currently leading, so he must be doing something right. But that line will give you less speed. So it's tough to call whether or not, you know, that actually pays off or not, because it seems like in the long run, that was a lot more, you know, it doesn't pay off in the long run. If these players are able to hold their gears in that downhill, then they will end up passing you. So now Nayko versus Firestorm. Nayko, this could be good for him. Get a second place or even a first place. And for Firestorm, he's going to want a first place. Nayko for a more inside line. Firestorm with a little bit more speed, but honestly, that inside line can pay off depending on how well the other person gets the outside line. He bumps on the inside, and Firestorm is going to take the first place. Nayko barely makes it. Ooh. Barely makes it, but that's going to be good for Nayko. The fact that he did make it into the ring. So now Helzinka moving up to 60 points. He's halfway there. Halfway to the point limit. And we are halfway through the maps that we are playing. So now, Helzinka going down, starting a little bit slower. tewbs with a very wonky line. Somehow didn't touch. I thought he did, but apparently he didn't. It was just a bit of a weird line. Firestorm, let's see how he does his own map. Oh, and you see him absolutely rocket ahead because he gets the gear, and you see he goes miles ahead because he keeps the gear on the downhill. A very difficult trick, but if you pull it off, you gain so much time on that turn. So Firestorm really taking advantage of that little technique that you can do in that turn. Nayko going for more outside line. Helzinka getting passed by Nayko. Nayko trying to hold on to this gear, going for a bump. He actually hits the wall, so Helzinka now will go up and pass him. Helzinka seeming to be more of a fan of inside lines rather than outside lines, which makes sense because he is more of an old school dirt player, so he is probably not as used to, you know, outside driving on dirt as someone like Firestorm, who's quite familiar with the new game, and you know, he maps for TMGL and whatnot, so he knows a lot about mapping for and playing maps for the new game, even if they are on dirt. So it's an interesting clash of styles that you see, where some lines are faster going outside because of the new game, and some lines you don't want to hang the outside because it's not faster. Helzinka going for that inside line. You see he catches up sometime, but in the long run, that's not going to work for him. Let's go up to Firestorm. Take a look. He's in the lead. Seems to have held the gear. Let's take a look at Nayko, who's just behind him. tewbs actually is a little bit closer. Let's take a look at that fight. Only 0.14 behind, 0.16 behind. tewbs keeping the gear. That's going to be good for him. He doesn't get as quite of a fast exit as Firestorm, but if Firestorm makes a touch here or a mistake, we will be able to see tewbs get a nice ability to catch up to him. Oh, tewbs making a touch, and let's see, will Nayko catch up? No, Nayko is a little bit too far down, and Helzinka as well. So I think these are set in stone. So Firestorm is going to get the first place here, getting the 10 points. tewbs in second, Nayko in third, Helzinka in fourth. So now, we get a little bit more close between these top two players and close between the bottom two. 39 and 35 for Nayko and tewbs. Helzinka and Firestorm at 69 and 64, so a little bit worrying for Nayko and tewbs potentially, but you know, completely allowed for them to be worried. Nayko, however, does have a slight advantage to these other players because having a shot caller is allowed for this competition. tewbs sliding out, it seems like, completely. But Nayko has a shot caller who's probably telling him, hey, this is what's going on in the match, and this is what you should be doing to accommodate for it. And that guy is Nayko, for the same team as Nayko. So he's probably telling him, hey, you should push right here, and he did, but he makes a mistake, and Helzinka is going to benefit from that greatly. Firestorm, going for that really outside line, seems to gain quite a bit of time. Oh, but he makes a touch or something, and he actually loses some time, so Helzinka can go for the overtake here, possibly. Oh my god. 0.04 between Firestorm and Helzinka. Wow. What an ending to that map. So, Firestorm is now going to only be 1 point behind Helzinka. Nayko pulling away just a little bit from tewbs, and now we're moving on to the third map, revamped by myself. So, 75 and 74. The most that any of these players could do is go into finalist mode on this map. But there's no way that they're going to be trying to fight for the actual win on this map. It's just not going to happen. And the only way we'll see a finalist is if one of these players wins every round. So, very close battle so far. Helzinka, Firestorm, both showing that they have what it takes. Which is surprising because Helzinka was actually quite a bit lower in the seeding, if I remember correctly. But showing that he could actually be a contender to maybe even get into the grand finals if he keeps playing at this pace. So, we'll see. Anyway. Nayko taking the lead in this warm-up. The most difficult map here, arguably. So now, Nayko, Helzinka, tewbs, and Firestorm going into the final map here. He's putting so much pressure on himself. Yeah, he's just got to relax. That's the best thing to do in a competition, is you just zone out and relax. He's going for a very good start here. Firestorm getting the gear, holding onto it, but he gets a little bit of a clip. So Nayko is going up into first. Let's take a look at Firestorm. What is happening? He's actually making a lot more blunders than I would expect. Where's Helzinka? Helzinka is completely in last. So this could be great for both Firestorm and Nayko. Nayko is taking a nice lead here. Oh, but he goes out. He just takes a little bit too wide of a line, so Firestorm is going to be able to take that first place over from him. Very unfortunate for Nayko. Firestorm going for more inside line in that approach. Completely understandable. You don't want too much speed when you go into this turn. Firestorm very nicely got a 2.5 second lead on everyone else. I would say he safely has this in the bag, getting a first place in this round. Very nice. He's going to go up to 84 points. Helzinka, where is he? Nayko getting second, tewbs getting third, and Helzinka getting fourth. So that's great for Firestorm. He's going to be 6 points ahead of Helzinka now. And Nayko being about 29 points behind Helzinka. That's got to put a little bit of pressure on him for sure. Let's watch tewbs anyway in this beginning. tewbs making a bit of a mistake. Got to be a little bit worrying. Before this match, he was saying that he was worried he would make some blunders. Nayko making a mistake in the uphill. Tube saying that he was going to get crushed in this match. And, you know, he's actually staying at pace with Nayko, so not getting completely destroyed. And, you know, so there's still plenty of chance for him to catch up. In cup mode, you can always have a comeback. You just have to have the right mindset and start playing out of your mind. So now, let's take a look. Firestorm getting that extremely nicely. Very smooth turn. And going into the end, let's see what type of time will he get. He will get a 1:04.3, not a bad time. Nayko versus Helzinka was a very good race. Wow. 0.05 5 between them. Very good. So now 94 points to Firestorm, 82 to Helzinka. Firestorm is pulling away now, really showing that he's a bit more dominant on this map. So now tewbs getting the best start out of everyone. Can he hold on to it? She's getting a little shaky along with Nayko. Nayko definitely feeling the pressure as we get a little bit closer to the end of this match. Helzinka, 82 points, has to be thinking. He has to be feeling a little comfortable now, knowing that even though he's in second and he's losing a lot of his places to Firestorm, and Firestorm looks to have made a mistake. I don't know what happened there. Something happened to Firestorm. Really can't tell what happened. I feel like he got a little stuck under the checkpoint. Helzinka going for the nice smooth steer in the uphill. And Firestorm taking another first place home. Very good. But it's a 105.2, so not the greatest times here. Players are probably realizing, you know, I could just safe and get a decent placement when a bunch of people are making mistakes. So maybe that's a strategy that would like to be employed. But, you know, it's up to these players. They have to decide. How are they going to plan this out? How are they going to get their points? Are they going to go for risks and make some mistakes? Or are they going to try to get second places every time by just safing it? And if you just safe it, can you guarantee that you're going to get a second place every time? What if you just end up getting third? Then that's not even worth it. So it's completely... Oh, Nayko going for a very risky line actually. Can't even say it's a good line necessarily, but he's keeping pace with the other players. Oh, but he makes a blunder there. tewbs a little bit farther behind. Can he catch up? I don't really see that yet. Helzinka behind Firestorm, going for his inside lines as usual. Having some trouble on that uphill. Nayko actually overtaking the second place. So Nayko, oh my goodness, why? Spectate him. He's going to take the second place on this map for this round. So now, one more round, I believe, on this map. Will Firestorm choke under the pressure, or will he go up into finalist mode on this round? All he needs is a first or a second place, and he'll become a finalist. One down, tewbs. Now he just has to eliminate one other person and stay ahead of them, and he can guarantee himself being in the finalist seat. Helzinka now. Doing a little bit of mistakes. Nayko trying to make an attack on Firestorm. Firestorm with a much more inside line. Nayko going for the outside. He's going to keep a little bit more speed. A lot more speed, but it's hard to deal with in that uphill, but he does manage to keep it, so only 0.3 behind. Can Firestorm hold out Nayko? Nayko getting a much better line. Firestorm getting in the gear down. Nayko's going to take this one in first place. Very nice. That was a good race there. tewbs locking in those 3 points at the end. tewbs probably not feeling the greatest right now, but Nayko has to realize that he can do something here. Anyone's game, given all the mistakes and comebacks we've seen from all these players. So it's really just a matter of who's going to be fortunate enough to get their mind in the right mindset, stop making the bonks, and be ready for getting into finalist and locking it in. In this next round, Firestorm is going to have the opportunity to come into first place and guarantee a spot in the semifinals. So he's definitely going to be looking forward to that. He doesn't have much to worry about. 96 points for Helzinka, so he has at least 3 rounds to go before he's facing anyone else in finalist mode. So that is going to be great for him. Not much to worry about. All he has to do is relax, hope other people make mistakes, maybe drive a little bit safer because he definitely has the pace here. Helzinka maybe being his main threat in his mind, but Helzinka over that last map wasn't able to keep up with Firestorm, so we saw Firestorm really pull ahead there in the points, though Helzinka was showing some strength in these first two maps. So maybe now that we're back around them, we'll see that Firestorm will get a little bit more worried, but all he has to do is win a single map. One round. Just one round. So let's see here. How's it going to happen? Good luck. Let's take a look from Helzinka's perspective. Helzinka going for the more inside line along with tewbs. But Firestorm and Nayko going for that risky outside line is going to be paying off, except for Firestorm making a mistake in the uphill. He is now, what, 0.6 behind. It's possible to make up, but only if other people start making mistakes. Nayko and Helzinka both playing at about the same pace. Let's take a look at Nayko. Doing a very, very nice job keeping his speed in that uphill. Helzinka, let's take a look at him. Going a bit more outside, but Firestorm actually pushing so much, probably keeping the gear in the uphill. Firestorm now trying to push as hard as he possibly can, making up a 0.6 deficit. Now, being in first by 0.1, can he pull it off and come in first place in this round? Can he one-shot the finalist? Let's see. Keeps his gear. Helzinka far behind him. Everyone else losing a lot of time on Firestorm. So now, will Firestorm make the jump? He will. GG Firestorm. A very convincing 1 minute 0.85. Not a great time, but he had a 0.6 mistake in the beginning, so he was on a pretty decent time in the beginning. So now, Helzinka, Nayko, and tewbs fighting for that second place, fighting to get into the semifinals. Probably a lot of pressure on these players. Nayko and Helzinka both going in tewbs, making a mistake. So now it's just going to be Nayko and Helzinka. Nayko pulling ahead just a little bit, getting a little bit of a scary line, a bit of a wonky line. Helzinka might be able to... No, Helzinka making a mistake. So now Nayko is up in the lead. tewbs, the only one who can try to catch up to him. But he's 0.75 behind. So Nayko, all he has to do is just relax and finish this round with no mistakes. Just relax and try to be as consistent as he possibly can. Go with the lines that he trained. And see, can he get the second place and lock in semifinalist? So now, Nayko going into the last turn. Will he make a mistake? He goes into the finish with a 101.2. Very nice. Nayko getting those 10 points that he desperately needs. Helzinka at 106. So Helzinka is probably looking for... All he needs is a win and a finish. And then the round after that, he will be in finalists, so he can go for the win again. But he's going to have a good pace. Helzinka probably realizing that he's in a good position because he's still quite far ahead of Nayko. But tewbs also is still in it. However, he is making some mistakes. So let's take a look at Nayko versus Helzinka. Nayko in the lead. Nayko getting not as good of an exit as Helzinka. These two teammates fighting. Both good dirt players. Both of them fighting for that second place. Trying to get into the semifinals tomorrow. Helzinka 0.14 behind. A little bit more exit speed. Maybe a better line. No, he loses the gear. Nayko also loses the gear, so it's going to be a matter of who gets this end the best. Helzinka going for more on outside line. He's going to have more speed, but he has to release. So Nayko, if he can do it, takes that first place. This is looking very good for Nayko. Very, very good for Nayko. So now Helzinka, if he wants to get into a finalist in the next round, has to get a first place. There's no other way. But Nayko now only 21 points away from being finalist as well. So if he can just keep doing denials, that would be great. For the mindset of this player, getting a first place in this next round would be perfect for him. So let's see. tewbs right now, having the best speed, getting a little bit more airtime than the other players, so he's going to be losing a bit of that time going for more inside line, but an outside line really pays off here. Let's take a look at the front. Helzinka versus Nayko. Helzinka going for an insanely risky outside line. Nayko taking a bit of a jump. Nayko going inside a bit more. He's going to have a more exit speed here. Going into the jump. They both in the same gear. Nayko going for more speed. Helzinka, however, is getting it much more smoothly. Nayko making a mistake. So Helzinka, all he has to do, if he realizes what's going on right now, he just has to relax and try to get into finalist. Makes a touch. Can tewbs catch up to him, actually? tewbs is going to be right on his tail, and tewbs knows. He probably knows this. All he has to do is try to finish, but he won't finish in front of Helzinka. So now Helzinka is in finalist mode, and all he needs is one more round to lock it in. All he needs is a first place on this final round of Thief by Dizrod and Hunter. Can he do it? tewbs getting a bad gear in the start. Nayko pushing, realizing he needs to focus up. He needs to focus and make sure that Helzinka does not win another round. And he's probably thinking, in this round, he knows he's the only one who can do it. He is completely responsible for his own fate now. Helzinka getting a much better landing, much better line, going a bit more outside than Nayko, but Nayko stumbling, and now they're probably going to be about even going to this Helzinka with a very bad gear. But the inside line is going to let him have more speed. He's going to catch up to Nayko just a little bit. They're both going to be in the same gear. Helzinka touching, so Nayko, if he has Nayko telling him this, he is probably screaming at him now, just safe it. 0.9. He can make it. All he has to do is safe. tewbs, however, coming up behind. Let's see. Will tewbs take it away from him? Nayko missing the risky finish. He is so lucky that tewbs was there. Oh my god. Helzinka probably kicking himself right now. But now Nayko is in the position with 109 points. 109 points, not a number you want to see, because even if he gets first in the next round, which he is going to want, either him or tewbs, he'll be at a 119, which means he can't be in finalist. So he's going to need to win like 3 more rounds in a row if he wants to guarantee that Helzinka doesn't qualify instead of him. But this is very close. Them calling it the drift map. Likely because if you get the gear here and you're going too fast, you do need to kind of have a bit of a drift at this exit. So maybe a little bit untraditional for dirt. Very rare to see a map where you have to press the brake to drift just a little bit. But anyway, now Nayko is definitely going to be fighting for his life, trying to get into that position, trying to guarantee himself that position in the semifinals. So good luck and have fun to these players, and hopefully may the best man win. It's a very close battle between Nayko and Helzinka. Who is going to take it? Here we are. Potentially the final round. We are essentially on match point for Helzinka. Player who showed that he has some very different lines and approaches on this map, so and they are a little bit slower. So he goes for this inside line. He catches up for a short amount of time, but everyone else ends up catching up or passing him by quite a bit. Nayko going for a very outside line. Oh, Nayko making a major mistake. Get out of here. Nayko probably knows Helzinka has to make a mistake now, or else he is going to be getting that first place in this round and qualified into the semifinals. Nayko is 0.5 behind. He probably realizes he needs to hope. Helzinka makes a mistake here. Helzinka going for the outside, doesn't touch. All he has to do is go into the finish and make it. And Helzinka is qualified for the semifinals. GG. Nayko put up a good fight, but it just wasn't enough to pass his teammate. So, these are your next two players. Firestorrm and Helzinka going into the next match. So let's take a look here. Match 3, Seed 1. That goes to Firestorrm. Match 3, Seed 2.